This week we have Jordan and Joel
Jolicoeur.
They took over. Yeah, it's going to be a mess, so I'll just keep it short. Took over Carvel Electric from their father Silvio in 2013, and in 3 short years, they've made quite a reputation for themselves in the community as movers and shakers. So. They've been featured everywhere from the newspaper to Alberta Venture. They've become a trusted member of the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business. The list goes on, and I really honestly feel like I'm talking about a company that's, these guys should be 60 years old with what's been accomplished in this short of a period of time, but younger entrepreneurs, which is great to see that so many things are happening so early on for you. So I guess we'll start off. If you guys want to walk us through the Carvel Electric story, 1997 when it was started, and just bring us up to current.
For sure. Thanks, Dean. That was probably the best introduction I've ever had, ever. So, yeah, Carvel Electric. Interesting that we're here right now. Started in 1997 for my dad in the back, the guy with the Carvel Electric hat. Pretty much grew up from ages 11, 10 years old, pulling wire with dad, evenings, weekends, learning the trade, and then went off to our own careers in the electrical trade. And when you grow up in an entrepreneurial family, an entrepreneurial spirit, you kind of always go back, you're always drawn back to that. So in 2013, Joel and I decided, it's probably about time that we get together and take the Carvel name and build something with it, and now that's where we are here.
What spurred your interest to come back into Carvel Electric after being out of it?
Well, like I said, technical difficulties. Like I said, you grow up as an entrepreneur, and you grew up in the business world, and that's something that is in you. It drives you, and it's kind of just stuck inside of you. And working for someone else, or not creating your own path or pushing forward is not good enough unless you're creating that path for yourself. So I think when we decided to take over, it's in us. That's what we wanted to do, and create our future and create the atmosphere we've created at Carvel Electric. And it's been great. Anything to add to that, Joel?
Yes. So just to touch on Jordan's points, was why we went off on our own was, I think, working for larger companies with other people. It's not always the most inspiring environments, and I think that was kind of why we just happened to be at the same place, same time in our careers, where we wanted to get away from the uninspiring group of people and work together to build something together with somebody who is equally inspired and equally driven. So that's kind of why we went off and started doing our own thing. So.
And we're brothers.
And we're also brothers. So.
They're brothers. Yeah. So the one thing that is brought up a lot of times when your names are brought up is vision. So you took over the company. It wasn't necessarily, I'm going to take this over and do it the exact same way. It was more, we have an idea of what we want to do. We have a direction we want to go, and it's brought up over and over again that a lot of your success has come from vision. So maybe you can talk about how vision has impacted your business a little bit.
Take on the visionary. To create a vision, you fail a lot. When you start a company, you have no clue where you're going. Yeah. But through failures, you know where you don't want to go. And from knowing where we don't want to be, we know where we want to be. And it's funny, when we started out, we thought we were going to be this little service company. We'd go around in these little white vans and we'd fix plugs or wire basements. And then you realize it's not a sustainable path for growth. And from knowing where you don't want to be, you know exactly where you want to go. And
that's kind of where it struck this whole vision thing. Is you come to an identity crisis, and you've probably seen our little vans around town, and we used to do that. We used to get paid in, you know, hamburger and meatballs, and, you know, and working for these old little ladies, and you love working for them, but you know it's not a sustainable business path. So we hit an identity crisis, and we said, well, you know, like, we want to grow, we want to move on, we need to have the clientele, and we need to have the proper clients to move forward. And I think that's where the vision came. As we said, this is where we want to go. We want to work for some of the largest industrials in Canada. We want to work for top contractors, and this is where we're headed. And how do we do that, and what do we have to put in place to get to that point?
Right.
And that's kind of where the vision started. And once you know where you don't want to be, you know exactly where you're headed, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on that, Joel?
Sure. Actually, I'll tell a story. There's about the white vans. We were actually sitting in the Home Depot parking lot, and we had nothing to do that day. And we're like, what are we doing? Like, is this what we should be doing right now? And a guy just walked up to us and offered us a job while we were sitting in the parking lot. And it was kind of a sign, like, we should be doing this together, sitting here together. It's gonna happen. So I think that's a funny day.
I think
That's nothing about vision, just
no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get to that point where you're sitting wherever you're at. I mean, your van, your desk, whatever, and you're going, what am I doing? Am I wasting my time? I've been pushing on this same wall for however many years. It's not going anywhere. Maybe I should get a job. Maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do that.
The one thing though is we've never ever had the conversation of should we be doing this? It actually has never come up.
Yeah.
But what we noticed is that every time you feel like you're hitting a roadblock, somebody comes in to help you, right? That man that walked across the parking lot that day just showed up because we knew we were doing the right thing. We just didn't know where the next project was going to come, but we knew we were doing the right thing. And that gentleman came, approached us, and he gave us a 3-week project when we really needed a project. And our whole career, Carvel Electric has been from the beginning, is really not knowing exactly what we're doing, but believing that.
I think that's every business.
Yeah, we believe that it's gonna work out.
Act like you know what's going on.
Everyone always came in exactly at the right time and said the exact right thing and gave us the right project that led us to meet somebody else, and it was all very synchronistic. And that's our success, really, is just knowing and believing that we're on the right path, and that the mistakes we've made and the path that we're on now is the right one, and that's the vision, really.
So it sounds like the mountain has come to Muhammad a couple of times, is what you're getting at here.
Exactly.
So you talk about vision, you talk about the direction that your company's headed, and when we're talking about that, I can't help but bring up your company's interest in different forms of energy thinking outside the oil and gas box into more renewable, more next level type of workings within the solar energy and LED market. How is that factored into your business?
I'll start with that and I'll pass it on to you, Joel. But LED lighting has been huge for us. For the whole world is looking to find another way of doing things, and creating energies through renewables. Rick can talk about that all day. But LED lighting is one thing that's really pushed us. We've had projects with CN Rail, Kinder Morgan Pipeline that's specifically about energy efficiency, and LED lighting has been huge for us, and it's the future, really.
Yeah.
It's a great business model, it's a great business path, and it's also doing better things for the environment. And anything else to say?
I think you hit it.
Okay, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's clear that your vision is going and looking into the future. I think I've even read that you're going to be a proud new owner of a Tesla 3. Is that correct?
Possibly.
which is almost a swear word in Alberta at this point. But I think that what you're doing is you're thinking a little bit outside the box, where I think a lot of people are kind of tapping their heels together and going, there's no place like oil, there's no place like oil. And you're thinking a little bit outside that. You're still embracing it, but thinking a little bit outside that box. And where do you think in the next 10 years, if we're looking ahead, where do you see energy headed?
That's a huge question. Wow.
That's why I'm here.
Where is energy headed? Well, I think it is. I think it's like the last question you said. It's headed towards a sustainable energy, energy efficiency. I don't think that the reliance will be as much on the conventional or traditional forms of producing energy, but I think having the options like solar or like wind, those will create more opportunities for businesses like ourselves. So it's not going to take away from this oil and gas sector, I think. I just think that people need to be open-minded about it and just accept that it is better for the environment and it can create jobs. It's just different jobs. It's just something different. And I think we just need to be embrace change a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'd be surprised to see what we can actually do. So.
Yeah. Do you think that there's an issue where, would you like to add to that? Go ahead.
Well, I always bring this up, and my dad and my father-in-law both work in the coal industry, and that industry is under a lot of threat. There's always one thing I always remind them is that for every kilowatt lost in coal, it's made up somewhere else. So the power demand is never going away. If you look last year in the United States, Rick, if I'm wrong with this stat, you can just yell at me, but more jobs were created in the solar industry than oil and gas alone. Oil and gas, coal, and natural gas combined. That is massive. So for every coal power plant that is lost, there will be more jobs created. And it's unfortunate that an industry is slowing down, but there's another industry that is going to take its place. The power demand is not going anywhere. If anything, it's increasing.
Absolutely, and not so much that it's even taking its place, but like you said, complementing and adding to what already exists. Do you think that this is a trend that entrepreneurs should start looking at as a sustainable business model? Should getting into the renewable energy industry, is it early? Are we too soon? Or is this a plausible future that's coming pretty soon?
Really, Alberta's actually behind the rest of the world. So we're actually late in the game. And the new technology and the new panel that was actually created last week, and a good friend of mine, Suzanne West, is on that panel. That panel is, their job is to say, what are we going to do with this new carbon tax money? And how are we going to use it effectively? And it's interesting to see that there's a lot of oil heads on that panel, right? So I would say really Alberta's behind the ball, and that we really have to catch up. We have a long ways to go, so
right.
I can't really add much more to that.
Excellent. So you brought up Suzanne, so I'll move on to my next question here. You've talked with Suzanne of Imagina Energy, who is obviously very active in this sector. Now you've had a chance to sit down with her, pick her brain. How has she impacted your business, and would you consider her a mentor that you kind of work with on an ongoing basis?
Of course. There's one. So yeah, I was fortunate to sit down with Suzanne West of Imagina Energy.
Maybe just give us a little bit of information on Suzanne and what she does.
So Suzanne has run multiple oil companies. Now her new project, Imagina Energy, is an oil company integrated with renewable energies. It's something that has never been done before. But her vision is, how do you take an old way of doing things and create something new? And that's why she's great for the panel that we have here in Alberta. But moving on to her advice, since she's such a successful business owner, there's one thing that really stuck to me in that interview that I had with her. is that when you build a business, you have to build a business that is not fragile. You cannot be the linchpin in your business, and that's one thing that me and Joel always talk about, is when we create a system daily, whatever it is, if it's safety, if it's a financial system, or whatever the system is we're building within our company, that system has to operate without me and Joel being in it. It has to be a sustainable system, a sustainable business. Our company cannot be fragile, and I try to not be the linchpin in our company and do everything myself. And that's something that new entrepreneurs, you do all the time. New business owners, we're the accountant, we're the janitor, we're everything. We're the CFO, we're the CEO. You cannot do everything. And if you make yourself the center of your company, the company's very fragile. And that's one thing she really stuck with me in that interview.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. I mean, a business is something that's much greater than yourself, and if you've led your business to depend solely on your input, you've really designed yourself and painted yourself into a bit of a corner.
Yep. Just to add on that too, is as the business owner, as the CEO, your DNA, your vision has to be built into those systems though. You can't build a company with a vision and then not let everybody else follow that vision. You have to inspire people to take your vision, put it into the system, and operate it.
Yeah.
So
that's great. I'm going to move into just a quick lightning round of rapid fire questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So maybe what I'll do is just have you guys alternate this. So first of all, okay, Joel, if you were to recommend one book for everybody to read, what would it be?
One book for everybody to read, for any particular reason?
Nope.
Possibly I'll say The Alchemist.
Okay, and why?
It's a great story about trying to find something and realizing that it was right with you all along, and just looking within yourself and finding that what you need is within you, and that's about it.
That's excellent. If you could choose anyone, alive or dead, who would you say is the most successful in your eyes, and why?
I'd say Richard Branson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why?
And why? Because he literally took a little record store and turned it into the Virgin brand, and kept his vision through every single one of his brands.
Yeah. Businesses could be a lot more successful if they did this more. Fill in the blank.
If they did this more, I would say allow people to be themselves and express their own ideas. I think the reason that I stopped working where I used to work was my ideas were not being heard, and I felt that if I was ever a boss, I would always want my employees to come up to me with an idea, because you never know. They might have a better idea than you, and that's great. So
Be open.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What advice would you give to yourself at 20, knowing what you know now?
Like last year.
well, that was only 7 years ago.
Yeah. Think way back.
But I think what I would tell 20-year-old Jordan is, don't worry about it, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. And then the final one, and the trickiest one, I think. If you could have access to unlimited wealth and technology, what impossible issue would you tackle? Or seemingly impossible issue?
I would bring the Stanley Cup to Edmonton. There's one thing that we hold really dear as Métis Canadians, is I'd bring a lot more attention to the Indigenous communities in our country, and I don't think it's acceptable the way that we have treated our Indigenous populations, especially since hundreds of Aboriginal communities don't even have drinkable water. That is unacceptable in my mind, and I would bring all that attention to those communities.
Very well said. Okay, well that brings us to the end. Thanks so much everybody for coming out. Thanks again to Jordan and Joe.
Jolicoeur.
Jolicoeur, and we would welcome you back next month. We'll send out the emails with the dates that we have confirmed, once they're confirmed, and we look forward to starting off the fall season of Chamber on Tap. Thanks so much.